My name is Kyle Kopp, and I'm the Director of Customer Experience here at Advanced Office. Today, we will be joining one of our veteran technicians and visiting one of our customer locations in the field. Our customer today will be the Golden Rain Foundation in Laguna Woods. The Golden Rain Foundation is a nonprofit corporation formed for the primary purpose of managing and servicing community facilities to its members and residents, all over the age of 55. Originating in 1964, and based on the realization that the building industry was not meeting the needs of an aging demographic, Laguna Woods was brought to life by Ross Cortese, a successful Southern California developer. 60 years later, this sprawling 2,100-acre campus has over 18,000 residents, boasts a 27-hole golf course, 6 clubhouses, 8 houses of worship, an 800-seat performing arts center, and even its own U.S. Post Office. Advanced Office, for its part, has played a key partner for almost 25 years, supporting 27 multifunction devices that keep administration functions of such a large operation running smoothly. Today, we're going to be riding along with one of our Orange County technicians, Doug Fields. Doug has been with Advanced Office for over 44 years, joining the organization in 1979, barely 2 years after we opened our doors. He's been involved with Golden Rain directly for almost a quarter of a century now. This is Technicians in Vans Making Service Calls.
Hi.
Morning, Kyle.
Morning. Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks. You go
For a ride?
Yeah, go for a ride. Let's do it.
All right. Off to Golden Rain.
So we like to start these with kind of your story, kind of your background. So I know you've been with AO for quite a while. So if you
How far
want
back do you want to go?
let's go back as far as you can remember. How did you kind of get started in the industry? How did you end up with AO?
I actually was taking a class at a CETA program in Orange County in regards to typewriter service repair.
Okay.
And then Mike Dixon, he came in and hired me. It was back in May of '79. So I was a typewriter technician for quite a long time. And moved into the industry, changed, moved into fax stuff, electronic typewriters. Like, we would never really do copiers. It was like, that was the dirty job, you know? But now here we are, 44 years later.
My, how things have changed.
Yeah.
So you said '79. So just shortly after, a couple years after Mike started.
Yeah, he started in '77.
'77. Okay. So how was your transition? I mean, from typewriters to copiers, when eventually that kind of happened?
Well, actually, you know, the transition was like from typewriters to like manual typewriters to electric typewriters to electronic typewriters to facsimile equipment to printers to, you know. So the progression was, you know, pretty good, actually.
As the world shifted from your beginning in typewriters to what they are now with copiers, multifunction, all that kind of stuff, how have you seen kind of the office environment or the business world, from your perspective, change?
Oh, wow. Yeah, a lot. I mean, you know, back in the day when there was a typewriter on every desk, you know, we had accounts with thousands of pieces of equipment, but they're just typewriters. You know, today, the copier, I mean, there always were copiers, but the way they work today is way different than they did back in '79.
Sure. Have you seen anything else in the environment change aside from the machinery? Is it the same? Is an office the same as it was, just the machines are different, or has there been any kind of other changes?
The offices environments are the same pretty much. Since COVID and stuff, things have changed drastically.
Yeah.
So I have seen a big change in the last, you know, three years.
So the business world has changed a little bit, obviously, the last 3 years. Equipment's changed. How has Advanced Office as a company changed since your start in '79 to what it is now?
A lot. I mean, we started out as a fairly small company. Advanced Office Services was the name of the company back, you know, when I started working for Mike Dixon. It was like a family, you know. I mean, literally, we would do things, you know, at work, after work, you know, all the time. Our company is bigger now. It's still a family. It's a big family. You know, it's a lot bigger family. So, you know.
So what do you like about what you do? What do you like about being a technician?
Well, obviously you gotta like to fix things, and be able to, stay up on all the technology that's out there. I like being on the road. Well, I've liked and loved being on the road forever. It's getting a little older today, because I'm getting a little older today. But, you get the freedom of being on the road, driving. You're not your own boss, but you are. You have to make the decisions that are right for the customer and for you, and you're just planning your day to see them.
How many customers do you think you see on a day on average? How many customers do you get to visit?
Well, if we're good and busy, and things go smoothly, the calls are 2-hour long service calls. Probably 4 to 6 calls a day, on an average.
What's kind of the most common thing you run into?
Oh, you get a lot of people with paper feed problems, easy fixes, feed rollers need to be replaced or cleaned, ADF dock feed issues.
What would you say is your kind of biggest challenge of what you do, in doing your job well?
Well, trying to really stay focused on our program that we have in regards to parts usage, response times, calls over 4 hours, our FCE, first call effectiveness, get the job done the first time, do it the right way, do total call on all the equipment that we work on, each piece. It's basically focusing on getting out there and taking care of whatever the issue is and more, and make sure we don't come back.
Is there anything that you do specifically, kind of your secret to making those things happen?
Well, really, total calls. Yeah, you got to really. If you're moving and you're busy, which that happens sometimes. Sometimes you can't look at everything, but usually we do. So doing a total call, working from the top down all the way down, taking care of the issue.
Do you have any good stories of the weirdest thing or the most challenging thing you've ever kind of come across in the field?
We had an account over at the post office in Catalina and Avalon. And so on occasion they would have a problem or such. And so I would always get the meter read before I left. And I would pack everything. Everything you could possibly think of, because I wasn't going back. And then jump on the ferry and go over mid-morning, do my work, spend the time there. Knew the postmaster, he's way retired by now. And had my favorite breakfast spot to hit before I went in, but do the work there, and then head back out on the ferry. And it was all day deal. It's because of the way the ferry schedules were. So it was nice until I talked to Mike, and occasionally I'd bring my daughter. She back then was like 4, 5.
She probably loved that.
Yeah, so we'd go snorkeling after we'd do the repairs and get everything squared away at the post office before our trip home. So little work, little pleasure.
Not bad.
Yeah,
that does present a unique challenge, though. You have to have everything possible because you can't
When I talk about packing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I packed up everything.
Do you feel that kind of translates into how we still do things as far as prepared for everything?
Yeah, you look in the back of this truck and you'll see. I mean, I don't even know what the value is in the parts that I carry in the back of this, but it's loaded.
We have just about everything you might need.
We can pretty much carry whatever we want for the most part. There's really no restriction. I mean, you only have as much room as you can to carry stuff.
Sure.
So, I mean, I could use actually a full-size van because, first call effectiveness, getting the job done right, the first time having what you need, it's imperative, and you got to have it in here.
Let's go back a little bit. You mentioned, to be a technician, obviously you have to like to fix stuff. So what initially drew you into the typewriter world back in the day?
Well, that's kind of a weird deal. So I was in construction back in 77 out of high school and working under the table type thing. So never really had a paycheck that the government knew about. So at one point, my brother was in a program. I moved from Redondo Beach to Huntington Beach when my parents had moved from there also. So I followed them down. My brother was in a class that the city paid you to go to, and it happened to be a typewriter repair class, which was a little bizarre, but to say the least. I didn't get through the whole class. Mike hired me probably after 2 months of being there, and then he trained me on the rest of everything. So.
If you had a piece of advice let's start with a piece of advice for your customers, to prevent issues, or to say, hey, if you could say one thing to them in the beginning of when that new machine comes and is installed, what might that be as far as preventing service issues or making their experience better?
Well, key op stuff for what they do and what they're doing to use it with our trainer and stuff, so they don't have issues with just not knowing how to work it. I mean, that can be a quarter of our service calls. Like people have an issue, but you get there and it's really not an issue. It's just that they're not doing it correctly, so you can show them how to do stuff. So being trained on the equipment is one thing. Lines on copies they make. The slick glass gets dirty. That's something that's very common that everybody needs to know about. We fix things like that over the phone. That's something I can show you later when we actually work on a piece of equipment. But really, be gentle. Don't rip and tear, and that's about it. I mean, they pretty much take care of themselves.
What about for somebody who's coming in as a new technician, first timer? Is there any advice you give after 40 years of doing it?
I would say you gotta love your job. You gotta be able to deal with people, like people. Try to find a parking place. There's a lot of freedom. You won't be a millionaire, but you make a good living, and just gotta like what you do. Hopefully they do.
Hopefully we'll do.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Perfect.
My name is Mike. I'm Central Services Supervisor. We support staff and our resident clients with copies, and we do binding, lamination, various things. We make tickets for them. I've been here for almost 42 years. So it's a busy place. We do a couple million copies a year here. We've been dealing with Advance for 25 years, and it's been a mutually beneficial relationship. Love all the guys. I got a great group of guys. But no, it's been a great relationship. Well, they make my job easier because they have good equipment, and they're very responsive when I do have a problem. And they get out there quickly and get the machine up and running. The way things run around here, everybody wants everything yesterday. They were talking, the board members brought up about outsourcing what we do here. So, the way you guys do business, that's not possible. They'll come in while they're in a meeting and want 25 sets of something that they're doing. If you outsource stuff, you lose freedom and control. It's just been a great relationship with Advance. They must be doing something right.
x-rays just to check, make sure the paper's right.